Alright, before we get into the video, I just want to let you guys know I'm currently live streaming RE4 due to the remake being announced. So if you are interested, be sure to come by and subscribe to get notified when I'm live. Speaking of which, I'll be live right after this video goes up, so stay tuned. Alright, enough chit chat. It's been 6 months since my last video, so let's get into it. I'm back. Hello guys, the Kozmic here, and welcome to my first video of 2022. And today, we talk about a hidden gem of a horror game, Condemned: Criminal Origins. A game released in 2005 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox, and of course, the PC. Developed by Monolith Studios, the same people who gave us Sphere and Middle-earth. Now, I'm no stranger to Condemned because I actually played this game when it first came out, making it my first horror game I've ever played. Because at the time, I was just into Crash Bandicoot and Sly Cooper, and survival games were very new to me. And I'm glad I came back to Condemned because it still holds up in 2022 if the graphics and lines are still outdated. Now, this game is a survival horror game, and the gameplay holds up to that. This isn't a run-and-gun shooter like Resident Evil nowadays, or hell, even Fear with its bullet time mechanic. Instead, Condemned takes a different approach by making this game more of a melee-based horror game using pipes, crowbars, and sledgehammers, fire axes, and all sorts of things around you to defend yourself with very limited guns that have little to no ammo, similar to games like Silent Hill, for example. In fact, guns seem pretty weak in this game, since it takes like 3 shots to kill someone, and that's like half your ammo right there. This creates a lot of scary moments since you have to get up and personal with the horrors that are around you, and some enemies come from corners and surprise you, and this would almost be perfect. But there is one flaw to this gameplay style, and that is, unfortunately, the taser weapon. The taser weapon makes this game way too easy, and I mean way too easy, such as stuns people, giving you a free shot, but most of the time results in them just falling over after one hit, and you can even take their weapons while they're stunned. In fact, the game gives you an even better taser weapon, which just flat out stuns enemies to the ground. I'm fine with them including a get out of jail free card since multiple enemies can swarm you at once, and it can be very annoying, but it makes these engagements less scary, and you never feel like you're about to die at all, let alone scared. So if you ever play this game, I would recommend playing it on the hardest difficulty, and also not to use the taser at all throughout the game, so that way you can at least have the immersion of, okay, I feel like hopeless and I have a crowbar and I have to fight my way through a shit ton of fucking enemies. There are different types of enemies in this game, such as boss characters, which are bad to say the least. Also, regular enemies such as these homeless hobos who are more equipped with weapons such as guns, more damaging melee weapons. Also, there's more heavier enemies that take a lot of hits than normal, and there are more weaker enemies that move fast but are easier to kill. There are also times we have to investigate a crime scene since we are detectives looking for murderers after all, and these sections give me those Batman Arkham vibes since you are trying to put a crime scene together. I just wish there were more things to do this side of the game since it's just pointing and shooting whatever gadget you are using at whatever. Like, the best example of this whole gadget side of the game was in this house, which we have 4 different writing trails on the wall, and each trail leads to a phrase, which leads to a riddle. And as this is going on, you're finding enemies. Then once you get all 4 phrases, you put them together, and then you have to input the message to find a hidden path within a house. And simple puzzles like that would have made these gadget sessions have set up for more sections like this. Now, as for the presentation of the game, there are moments where this game gets very creepy, mainly through all these hallucinations Ethan, our main character, goes through. I think one of the locations of the mannequin store is a perfect example. It has this creepy atmosphere to it, and you always feel like these mannequins are going to move. And as the level goes on, enemies start to dress up as mannequins and attack you, and then this happens. Sections like this are very creepy and scary, but they are very few and far in between. For example, Ethan's in this elevator, and all of a sudden he sees Rosa, another character we'll get into later, in this train, who then just turns into a bunch of rats. And it's very creepy, but that's about it. I wish we could explore more of these sections, because it would have made this game a lot more creepy, and would have gave off a lot more of a creepier atmosphere. Most of the time, you're just going down a dark corridor, and as soon as you see a guy, you just... So overall, the gameplay and presentation is okay, but this game could have been more scary and more creepy. So now let's get into the story, which is pretty interesting to say the least. The story takes place in Metro City, and we play as Ethan Thomas, a detective who has the ability to see murders within his mind to break cases, which makes him top of his class. He meets up with some police officers as they track down a crime scene of the matchmaker, a serial killer who kills young women and has them posing with male mannequins. One of them notices that they're not alone and sends Thomas to go and get the lights back on in the building. But as this is all going on, a man in an orange jumpsuit steals Thomas's gun and runs off. Thomas does get the power back on, but he ends up getting jumped by the orange jumpsuit guy and kills both of the police officers, and Ethan then gets thrown out a window. We then get Ethan waking up in a building and sees a man he remembers from his childhood named Malcolm Van Horn, who tells him that the police has him as a prime suspect for the murders of the 2 police officers. He tells him that he is here to help and to leave and run for the cops since he is not safe here. And as this is all going on, we see the man who actually killed the police officers in one of the buildings across from where they are. He then meets Rosa, his partner, to help locate the suspect. And as the investigation continues, Valhalla keeps telling him about this gift he has, which is the ability to see crime scenes in his mind, and says he hasn't unlocked the full potential yet, and knows a lot about him since his father died, and has been watching him for a very long time now. Ethan then locates the suspect's room, which he was taking pictures of Ethan, which has clippings on the wall full of serial killers with X's crossed out on all of them. Ethan then gets attacked by this suspect. He survives and makes a run for it. He trails into a subway, and this happens. Birds play a big part in Condemned's story, since throughout the game loading screen you see that people have been reporting that birds have been acting strange recently and have been starting to die due to brain rot and have no idea where the source is coming from. And he's even starting to affect humans' brains as well, making them more violent and more aggressive, thus increasing crime rates and thus giving us the enemies that we see here. Ethan then catches up with the suspect but gets away by train. He then finds mannequin parts in a train compartment, which points him to a department store. Ethan then chases the train ride there. Ethan then goes to the mannequin store and finds out that our suspect killed the matchmaker, and that he's not after regular people, but for other serial killers. At this point, he's just a watered down Dexter. And he kills them the same way he kills their own victims. We'll call him SKX for now. Ethan then finds out that his next serial killer victim is the Torturer, who abducts people, tortures them, and hunts them down and drives them to suicide. Ethan then tries to get in contact with Rosa, but the police are onto him. He manages to do so, and Rosa finds Ethan's physical file and finds out that Ethan has these anomalies within his body, and a chest x-ray which has his throat being marked out. Rosa then tells him that the government is very interested in Ethan, and this is not really explained that much in the first game, but definitely goes more of a bigger role in the second game, so we'll probably come back to this, I guess, story point in a future video, who knows. Rosa and Ethan then try to find any information on the torture, but the network is down, and Ethan then starts getting more hallucinations and finds out that SKX has Rosa under hostage. Ethan then gets the network back on and finds Rosa, who was able to fend off against SKX before being knocked out and bit his hand, which spilled some blood. Rosa then does a cross-analysis of the blood sample and confirms that SKX is the guy they've been looking for. They also find a guy named Carl Anderson, who is the torturer, by the way, and they look for his old gym teacher named Samuel Tibbetts, who has gone missing. They end up finding out where they can be located, but SKX eavesdrops on the conversation, and now is a race against time to find a torturer in Tibbetts before SKX does. Ethan then makes it to the school and finds Van Horn has been following him. Ethan then starts seeing more hallucinations, and some weird things start to happen. Ethan then finds Tibbles, but it's too late, and SKX has already kidnapped the torturer, and how the fuck did SKX get here before Ethan? I don't know, who knows, man. All of a sudden, we start seeing weird people wearing metal plates and face coverings and carrying metal bars as weapons. We do see these people from time to time, but they really don't start making an appearance towards the later end of the game. Rosa then finds the location of SKX and the torturer, and Valhorn takes Ethan there. After reaching the location in this abandoned house, Ethan finds the torturer, but once again, SKX got to him first and forced him to commit suicide. Ethan then dresses up as the torturer and jumps SKX, and as he's about to kill him, Ethan then gets jumped by Van Horn and reveals his true colors by knocking Ethan out, as he is trying to help SKX as he is the nephew of Van Horn known as Leland Van Horn, saying that there is something more to this whole thing, but SKX has none of that and chokes out Van Horn. Ethan then wakes up and finds Van Horn knocked out and SKX in front of him, and he is about to kill him and actually ends up cutting off his finger, but it's kind of funny because Ethan legit has like no reaction to it. Valhorn then uses this time to take down SKX and tells Ethan that he needs to find this thing that's causing this and kill it. Ethan then starts to see more weird enemies, and we actually start coming across more of those metal plated enemies with the sticks and having metal plates in their mouths and all this other shit. We then start seeing burnt victims, which are very tanky enemies, and the main bad guy behind all of this, who looks like Hellraiser, who is fighting like Dark Maul for some reason. Ethan then pretty much kills this guy and legit chokes him out and breaks his neck like he's fucking performing a fatality or something, and drops him off, which sets off an explosion, causing a fire. Van Horn then picks him up and tells him that he never really go back to his old life anymore, and what he fought was hate, and it's very difficult to control. As they head back, Ethan then hears SKX in the back of the car and tells Van Horn to stop the car, and is prepared to shoot SKX, but Van Horn tells him not to do it since he believes that the hate controlled him and he's not in the right mind, and tells him that he can be redeemed just like he was. And we make our final choice in this game, but it's kind of useless and meaningless because nothing really changes if you shoot SKX or not, so it really doesn't matter if you really kill him. Anyway, Ethan then meets Rosa at a local bar, and Rosa tells him that the cult might be behind all of this, and tells him that she's wired, and Ethan at this point doesn't know who to trust anymore. And unfortunately for Ethan, he is still having these hallucinations, thus ending Condemned Criminal Origins. Overall, the story is okay, but the biggest issue with it was the ending. That ending was not that great. It felt so anticlimactic after everything that happened, and the choice that you made really doesn't make a huge difference to the story whatsoever like I thought it was going to be. I think that if Ethan did shoot SKX, it should have played a different cutscene showing that maybe Ethan became one of the plated jaw people, or maybe it could have had a twist where Ethan really did shoot those police officers and let the hate within himself take over, which could explain why he goes on a big killing spree, killing everything that he sees. I just wish that the ending was just a lot more interesting because unfortunately, it's underwhelming to say the least. So that's Condemned, a really good game with some creepy elements and really fun gameplay, but some things could have been done to make this game even better and more interesting, but that doesn't hold it from being a bad game though. As for the sequel, however, I think that's where the series of Condemned went wrong, but that's another video for a different time. This has been the Cosmic Man. Thanks for watching, and next time we return to a game that I started on this channel a long time ago, but never finished.